So if the Eagles are that intent on signing Zach Ertz to a long-term contract, maybe the guy you trade is Dallas Goedert.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly. Scary Cooper, asshole!
Oh, Diva! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans. Dallas still stinks.
Everybody doing? King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm so sorry I was not able to get a video out or a live stream yesterday. It was a long, busy day. I did not get home till late, so I apologize. But look, we got 2 videos coming today. We got a video and a live stream tomorrow, so it's going to be very active over the next few days. So hang in there with me, and look, let's just get right into it, okay? First thing I want to talk about is a guy that a lot of you guys talk about, a lot of you guys want the Eagles to draft, and that is K.J Hamler of Penn State. Now, this kid is fast. He's a speedster. I don't know what his exact 40 time is. He did not run at the combine, but everybody expects him to be somewhere in the low 4.3s, something like that. He's explosive. He does remind me a lot of ways of Deshaun Jackson. At times, he drops the ball a lot, which is something I don't like. But I definitely see this kid as a second-round pick. He's definitely a day 2 draft pick. And obviously, you guys probably have heard the reports. The Eagles have been talking to him. They've had some video phone conferences with him, things like that, as well as some other teams. But the Eagles are definitely interested, and I like the kid. I would be very happy if the Eagles got him in the second round, depending on what they do in the first round, okay? So, for example, let's say the Eagles are in a situation where I get my wish. The Eagles somehow land Henry Ruggs, right? So let's say in the first round, they land Henry Ruggs. Well, at that point, what I would do is I would go away from a guy like a Hamler in the second round, and I would look for more of a guy who's maybe a little bigger, a little more bigger, physical, maybe a Chase Claypool, maybe a T. Higgins, maybe somebody like that if they fell that far. But I would look for a more physical receiver, a more of a possession-type receiver if I got like a Henry Ruggs type guy, okay? Now, if, let's say, top 3 receivers are gone, you're sitting at 21. Let's say you draft Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, who, by the way, I got to tell you, like my top 5 receivers, I've said before, my top 3, then 4 I had Jefferson, 5 I had Denzel Mims. I'm about to switch it. I'm about to put Mims at 4 and Jefferson at 5. The more I watch Mims, the more I like him. And somebody said it perfectly. He does look like Terrell Owens a little bit when he's on there, when he's on the field. And I forget who it was, but shout out to you, whoever said it, because you're exactly right. He does remind me of Terrell Owens in some ways when he's out there. Denzel Mims would be my 4th guy. Okay, so let's say the Eagles don't draft one of the top 3 wide receivers. Let's say they get Denzel Mims with the 21st pick or Justin Jefferson. I don't care which one. But at that point, in the second round, I would target K.J. Hamler. That's when I want to get him. I want to mix him with somebody who's a little bigger, a little more physical, who could be more of a possession receiver. That's when I would target K.J. Hamler. So it really depends what I do in the first round on whether or not I go after K.J. Hamler in the second round. But if I'm going to get a Jefferson or a Mims, somebody at 21, which is what most people think is going to happen, then yes, you got to target K.J. Hamler, in my opinion, in the second round. Him, Ayuk, somebody like that, maybe even Rager. Those are the kind of guys in the second round I would go after if I end up with Jefferson or Denzel Mims or somebody like that. No question about it. But I know that the Eagles probably like K.J. Hamler. He's friends with Miles Sanders, so they probably go to Miles Sanders and ask questions about him. And it would be great to have him. He's an explosive player, no question about it. So the Eagles are interested in him. They're talking to him. And, we're going to see how this whole thing shakes up really soon in the draft. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about, well, actually, it's like 3 other things I need to talk to you about, but I'm not going to be able to fit it all in this video. You know, it'd be like 30 minutes long if I did that. So I'm going to have another video out later on today with 2 more things that I got to talk about. But in this video, in this part of the video, what I want to talk to you guys about is the Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert tight end situation, because Tim McManus did an interesting article today on ESPN, and it was basically asking the question, how much longer is Zach Ertz in the main plans for the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? Because we know he's 29 years old. He wants a contract extension, okay? And you got guys like Kittle, you got Kelsey. These guys are coming up for big extensions. I mean, they're going to be huge extensions, somewhere in the $14-15 million range. And Ertz, they're thinking you may be able to get in for about $12.5 million, which is about $4.5 million than he's currently making. Right now, with Ertz under contract and Dallas Goedert, I think the Eagles are paying both those 2 guys combined $9 million a year, like $9 million a year. Do you realize that Nelson Stinkler, he was making like $9.5 million himself, yet Ertz and Goedert are paid the combined amount of Nelson Stinkler. That's how bad Nelson was to the Philadelphia Eagles last year. What a waste of money, okay? However, here's the situation. You got 2 years left on Zach Ertz's contract, 2 years left on Dallas Goedert's contract, okay? The Eagles want to sign Zach Ertz to an extension, and if they do, they better do it quick, because once Kittle or Kelsey, like I was saying, gets paid, Ertz is going to get even more money, so it's going to be very hard. The Eagles need to sign him soon if they want to sign him to an extension. That's why they tried to get it done back in December, and it didn't work out. So the situation is this. The Eagles, they think Zach Ertz is a big part of their plans, at least for next year and maybe the year after, right? No question about it. They want to sign him to a long-term contract. But when they do that, they risk the idea or the possibility that a guy like Dallas Goedert goes into the last year of his contract and says, look, I want to go somewhere and I want to be the number 1 tight end. I want to be the number 1 tight end. I ain't re-upping with you guys. And that's just the way it is, okay? The Eagles risk that. They also risk the possibility that if they're paying Ertz a lot of money, and to resign a guy like Dallas Goedert could cost them, they were saying, about $10 million a year. It could cost the Eagles about $10 million a year to sign Dallas Goedert to a contract extension. So you're going to have $15 million possibly with Zach Ertz, another $10 million with Dallas Goedert. It's about $25 million for one position, okay? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And here's the question that I'm asking, and I'm wondering, if you're the Eagles and you decide, hey, Zach Ertz is the guy, we don't care that he's older, we're going with him the next 5 years. If that's the case, then why not get Dallas Goedert and trade him? Maybe you use him to move up in the draft. You should be able to get more value than what you drafted him for, right? You drafted him for a 2nd-round pick. Well, he's shown that he's worth more than a 2nd-round pick. He's young. He's 25 years old. He still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. And the truth of the matter is that you probably could get a lot for him. I think you could get a borderline 1st-round pick for Dallas Goedert. If you package him in something else, maybe you can move up in the draft, get your Jerry Jeudy, get your Ruggs, somebody like that. It's something worth considering. Now, me personally, just because I throw this idea out there doesn't mean I would do it, okay? I personally would not trade Dallas Goedert. I would not do it. Hell no. And if I'm that hell-bent on keeping Zach Ertz, the way I would play this thing out is I would let Zach Ertz play out his last 2 years. Let him play out his last 2 years of his contract, right? He's like $8 million this year, like $8.5 million the final year. He's cheap. He's cheap for the Eagles right now. So I'd let him play out his last 2 years. That would put him at 31. Let's see where his talent is then. Then what I would do is I would let Dallas Goedert play out his contract. Okay, let's see where he is then. And then I make a decision. Then I would make a decision. Am I going to sign Ertz or am I going to sign Goedert? And then I just sign one of those guys. That's probably what I would do in this situation if I'm hell-bent on keeping Ertz. Now, me personally, as far as Ertz goes, I think he's the guy you move, personally, because he's still at the maximum value right now in terms of he's 29 years old. He's worth a lot, very talented, and some team is going to want to snatch him up, and I think you can get a lot for him. I think that would be the better way to handle it, but that's not how the Eagles want to do it. They view Ertz as a mainstay, the best receiver for the Eagles, which I get. I get it. Okay, I'm not saying trading Zach Ertz is an easy thing to do. I think it's a very hard thing to do. If I had my own personal choice, that's what I would do. I would shop Ertz, but I would have to get a lot. If I'm hell-bent on keeping Zach Ertz, and that's just the way it is, and the Eagles are going to do that, I would just let him play out his contract, let Dallas Goedert play out his contract, and then see where they are at the end of 2 years. I think that's the best way to handle it. But you could trade Dallas Goedert and get a hell of a lot. I mean, it's something to consider if the Eagles give Zach Ertz a 5-year deal coming up soon. If Kittle or Kelsey sign and then the Eagles sign Ertz after that, then you almost have to trade. You have to trade Goedert. I don't think you can keep both of them if you're paying Zach Ertz like $14-15 million a year. So the Eagles are going to have to make a tough decision no matter what when it comes to Ertz and Goedert. In my opinion, at the very least, keep both guys, let them play out their contract. But do not, in my opinion, do not sign Ertz to $15 million a year, 5 years, something like that. It's crazy. I think that's way too much. But I think the Eagles, from what we're hearing, Ertz is part of their long-term plans. And if that's the case, it really makes you wonder what their plan is for Dallas Goedert. You could pay both those guys. No question about it, you could, but at some point that's going to hurt you. You're paying a lot of money for a backup tight end, like $10 million a year, okay? So it's going to be a lot of money, and, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do. I think for me, like I said, my first choice on how to handle this situation would be to try to shop Ertz, see what I can get for him. If I don't get enough, I keep him, I let him play out his contract. If you're hell-bent on bringing Ertz back and keeping him, I'd let him play out his contract before I would sign him. If you sign Ertz to an extension, then I would start shopping Dallas Goedert because I don't think you can keep them both. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know yours in the comment section. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.